model car fans, welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Revell, and joining me today is Ryan.
Hola.
There he is. And we're going to go over this 70 Shelby GT500 Fastback here, or sports roof. I'll tell you some more facts about it, and we'll ask a few questions, and then I'll get into the actual build of this. And also, special guest starring my Band-Aid here is another fish Pokemon here, Kingfish. Don't know the name on him, but any of you guys recognize him, please comment below. We're not sure who this guy is, but we'll figure it out sooner or later. But that's kind of the fun. Some of you seem to get the idea that might be fun. So getting to this particular build, this is the one that's sponsored by Hobby Nut Models. This is the Revell 1970 Shelby GT500 kit, and it's mostly box stock. It pretty much is box stock with one small exception. I did change the tires out for an older version tires, but also with it I've got my 70 convertible here, and then I've got the 69 in the back there, just to show you the differences or lack of differences here. But some of the interesting facts when it comes to the 70 Shelby GT500, as it's the last year of the original Shelby Mustangs, all the way until 2006 when the Shelby came back. This one, it's funny because a lot of people will want to know what's the difference between a 69 and a 70. Well, there's a lot and then there's nothing. And it's kind of funny because it's a trick question and it's kind of fun in the trivia of it. The 69 Shelby and the 70 Shelby, all 70 Shelbys were built in 1969. There were only 789 70 Shelbys of all of the Mustangs. So whether it's a GT500 convertible, GT500 fastback, or GT350 fastback, or GT350 convertible, those were the four models. But they were all built in 1969, and they all started with 1969 VINs. Now, because they were unsold and Ford wanted to change a few things, what they ended up doing is the feds were involved, and Ford had re-VINed every single one of them to a 1970 VIN. Now, one of the things I wanted to know about that was how far did they go? There's a VIN tag on the windshield that was changed out. There was I believe, a riveted metal VIN tag on the door, and that was changed out for a sticker, or it was a sticker in 69. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I remember seeing aluminum plates there, and then 70s were a sticker. And supposedly there were some that the sticker was put on top of that plate. The VINs were changed, and some of the hidden VINs, that's what I wanted to know, is what about the hidden VINs? And what I mean by hidden VINs, for those that don't know, is on the body, there are usually miscellaneous places where they stamp the last 8. And on Mustangs, up on the aprons here, on both sides actually, the whole VIN was stamped into the top of it. Now, any of you guys have had a 68 or older, you know the fender was cut out and the VIN plate was visible, or the VIN number was visible there, but it had the actual VIN plate on like the door. But since they had moved them to the windshields, they stopped cutting the fender out for them, but the VIN was actually still stamped there. And they stamped them on both sides. My best friend Jeremy's 67 Mustang, when it was stolen, they removed the VINs and ground off the VIN that was visible on this side. But when the police were trying to identify the car, they unbolted the passenger fender, lifted it up, and they found the hidden VIN on that side, confirming that it was his car. And there's some other ones in different places, but it really depends on where it is. What I was wondering with the 69 cars is the VINs usually started 9. I forget on this one. I'm sorry. I read about it, but they would start with 9, and the first digit was 0 for the year. And most of the VIN didn't change, but the first digit did. Maybe the sequence number changed. But finding hidden VINs on cars. Even when I restored my wife's 71 Chevelle and we tore it all apart, I found the last 8 of the VIN stamped in the rain gutter here where a weather strip hides it. I found one on the firewall, stamped behind the heater box, and there was a third one I found somewhere else. None on the frame, though, of her car, but also the VINs were usually stamped in the top of the transmissions and on the engine itself. Well, understand all of these, they left those 69 VINs alone, and really only changed the 70 ones that were visible. Now, I did read that the ones that were stamped in the aprons, since they were covered, they re-stamped the 70 VINs on the aprons, so both VINs were stamped in the aprons on the ones that were converted. I haven't confirmed that or seen that, but that's what I had read. So just trying to find that stuff out. Now, when they were converting them, there were two things that are obvious in this model kit. The hood stripes were added. No 69 Shelbys had the hood stripes, which is why that one doesn't have it. But where I was a little confused on is I read that they came all gloss black originally, and they took the hoods off, painted them, and put the hoods back on. But I've seen a number of cars like I did this one where the stripes are semi-gloss. I'm not sure if that's just faded paint over the years or preference when it was restored, but pretty cool stuff. So the other thing is also this chin spoiler, which is similar to the Boss 302s, but those were on the 70s only, no 69s with spoilers. So like this one being converted to a 70 as well, has those two items. So as far as, you know, what the vehicle has, but everything else, paint, options, everything was 69 stuff, just leftover 1969 stuff. So we'll get more into this particular one, and I'll get the other ones kind of out of the way and focus more on that. And I'll tell you more about this build. But first, let's take it out inside and see how it looks in the sun. Well, here she is, out in the Arizona sun here, the 70 Shelby GT500. This is quite a fun car. I enjoy these. Last year of the original Shelbys, of course. But yeah, I'm sure I talked about earlier. But love this Wimbledon white. And I gotta remember to say Wimbledon, not ton. I have a habit of saying that, so I'm trying to get out of that. But love this white with the blue stripe here. I believe it could have came with the black stripe as well. Most of these have the black interior, but I really like this maroon, this dark red interior in this one. When I saw that combo, I just had to do it. The blackout tail panel, of course the license plate that says last one. Of course, you know, the kit came with that, so I had to use it since it's, you know, 70 Shelby. But wheels looking good, paint, shine, that red interior. Just love the way this is looking in the sun here, and quite the shine on it. So, love those dual hood stripes, gloss black. Only came in black. I wonder if 70 Shelby with black had, you know, satin black stripes or not. But some I haven't really looked into, but I don't think any of them were actually in black. I know there was a black jade color, which really wasn't black. I'll have to look into that. For some reason, I keep thinking there wasn't, but maybe there was. Anyway, you know, with only 800 something produced. But look at that, the exhaust pipes, taillights, the trim. Well, this one is done and looking really good, so I'll have to move on to some of the other ones as well. But, you know, I like the way this one came out. Anyway, we'll head back inside and tell you more about the build. All right, well, that's what's out in the sun there. Arizona sun is a nice 102-degree day, so it's nice and hot out there. But here's the Revell kit. And as I mentioned, I built this right out of the box. So here's a picture of the box as well. But the only thing I did change here is the earlier kits have the leather tires, and this kit had the smooth tires. So I basically just swapped tires from my parts stash of those. So did that. Everything else is right from the kit. The decals, the blue stripes, which I love the blue stripes. Now I knew when I'd seen the blue stripes on the thing that I knew I wanted to paint this one Wimbledon white, and wanted the blue stripes because there was pretty much this color, and I believe pastel blue was the only other color that you can get these blue stripes on. When I was reading sheets, I really don't like the pastel blue color that much, even though it's a really light, almost white blue. It's a very, very pastel. But Wimbledon white, it's kind of a dirty, creamy white. I mean, it's not bright white. So as an all-white car, I'm not really fond of the color. But when you put stripes on it and everything like this car, to me, it makes that color pop even more, even though I like the bright colors. But the blue stripes just really set it off. So it's kind of funny that it's got blue side stripes, black hood stripes, and a red interior on this white. And I seen that combo on one of the real cars, and I thought that's what I got to build, is that one. Now, research and what I had found on the restored car, there were two of them I found. But supposedly there were three 1970 GT500 fastbacks with the red interiors. So I love that red interior in there, so you can really see it. It's a dark red interior. You'll have to probably get a better look at my video building this one to get a better look inside, because it's really hard to get light in there, which is why I did that video. And but you can see it right through the rear window there. Get some more light this way. The Shelby window stickers right there, the decals, I thought those were cool. I added those. They were on the sheet, but not in the directions. I had some fun detailing the wheels, but I left the spokes polished, which I'd seen a number of them done that way. And then bare metal foil on the handle, blackout and scoops. And then the underside here, I gotta be careful. I've knocked this chin spoiler off a couple of times now.
Yikes.
But it's white glue, so it comes right off. But there's that manual tranny and the 428 there. How does that look, Ryan? It's pretty neat under there.
Could you use a little more color?
Yeah. Well, they're pretty blacked out. There, a lot of these had a lot of overspray and stuff on them, but I kind of like them all blacked out like this. Check out that exhaust though. See how the exhaust comes out of the middle? You see the pipes in the side? There's a crossover tube that goes right behind the gas tank. And it was known for heating up the gas. And sometimes you would get a exhaust smell or a gas smell from it because it was warming it up.
I think that you should, like, on the backside, I mean, like, underneath, I think you should, like, do some more dark gray to, like, show that it's, like, more shade.
Yeah. Some people really like to weather them. I'm not so good at that, but, you know, that's something I've thought about doing. I like them showroom fresh, you know, over restored. So here's that engine compartment with the decals that it comes with, the caution fan, the air cleaner decals. And there's even a couple on the firewall. There's one on the firewall back there and one on the shock tower right here. Really hard to see, but it's there. There we go. So you can see those. I like those. They're kind of a neat little detail. And one thing with this particular model kit, which all of the Revell ones have, this oil cooler right here. You see this oil cooler? Usually, if it's not a Super Cobra Jet, like the drag pack option, it would have one horn on each side and no oil cooler. But the oil cooler right there signifies that it's a Super Cobra Jet. Now, still rated at 435 horsepower, but the internals are built a little stronger for drag racing and stuff like that. Some pretty cool stuff there. But, you know, this thing looking really good. It's got a small little wobble on this one, which I'm kind of surprised. My other ones don't do that. You know, each build kind of goes that way. Like this 69, I rebuilt it, but I have the hood that just doesn't want to completely close. It just keeps popping up. Even though I've sanded the lip edge, sanded some things down, trying to get it to stay. But that particular one, and there's nothing in the front that does it. It's kind of funny. But, and then this one, it sits flat too. And then this hood sits flat. So this one went really well. So I got the other convertible to build, and I got these, but kind of fun to show them off kind of together. But this one's very patriotic. I love the red, white, and blue with the black. Just a real neat color combo. So pretty happy to have this one done and looking real good. I like the taillights and the Molotow pen on the dividers right there with the sequential taillights. Just really cool stuff. Just some of the things I really like about the 69 and 70 Shelbys, which, you know, as funny as it is, really not much different as far as the other Mustangs. There wasn't anything special in the drivetrain anymore. You can get all the options in the Mach 1. You know, the Boss 2 had a lot of performance stuff in it that wasn't available in the Shelbys. You're basically buying the look, the name and the look. You're paying extra for that. Fiberglass fenders, fiberglass hood, the whole nose. You know, it was a very upscale car. It wasn't, you know, the race car it was born to be. But anyway, just very cool, and just you definitely got some attention if you're driving one of these around. So you guys, I think that's gonna do it for this. So please share your comments, likes, and everything on that. I appreciate it. I love the comments. And you guys, I got to thank Hobby Nut Models for sponsoring this one. And Thank you for all the shares, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. So you guys, you have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next time.
Don't miss the next video.
Yes, we'll see you. Have a good weekend.